Dun, 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 dun.
Tilted
Tilted balls.
balls.
Oh, I
Yeah.
forgot. That sounded really good, but didn't you say that sometimes when it sounds good, we're actually off?
No, when it sounds good to me, when it sounds good to you, it's on because you're hearing it. Where
Nice.
I get a slight delay.
Oh, well, I thought that sounded great that time.
Awesome.
So I
Me
think that
too.
must have been good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Woo. Hopefully, all of our listeners had a great New Year. I'm back on the adjustable bed. This is the TV setting, which originally we were like, this is the dumbest setting ever. But I think it's not bad if you don't put pillows
Hmm.
and you realize that you are now sitting in a chair.
Yeah.
Like
That
the back is like up.
that she said is sweet.
Yeah,
Looks like
this is one of my favorite sheet
uh,
sets. Not only that, but in my guest bedroom, I put this cool set of linen sheets, and my guests actually complimented.
oh, nice.
They were like, by the way, thank you so much for putting those linen sheets on. They're like the best sheets ever. And I'm like, oh, you like those? And they're like, yeah, they're sweet. I was like, okay, cool.
Hmm. They are. That's why they're
I'm
so
like,
expensive.
I don't think they carry those because they were too hot, right?
No,
Wasn't
the
that the
linen.
case?
No,
Or was it too cold?
people love the linen sheets. I don't like them because they're too cold for me.
Yeah, that's what we were saying. We were like,
Yeah,
Kilted hates them. So
yeah. Plus, they
we're
cost
like,
a
which is okay.
ton.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, compliments on them. And everybody
Awesome.
loves the pattern. Like when I'm having
Hmm.
big orgies in this bed, everybody just loves to
Oh,
look at the
everyone loves it.
flowers. Mhm.
Nice.
For sure, for sure.
Well, be careful. That company might sue you to make sure that they're
Oh,
getting
right.
notified on their
Yes,
stuff.
because this is not a generic pattern. This is like a one of
Proprietary
one.
pattern.
This is proprietary for sure, proprietary pattern. Um, the reason we're giggling, by the way, friends, is we were talking to old friends from high school. Like it was before New Year, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And again, just one of those things. Like we just got into a Zoom call with them, and it was awesome. And
Hmm.
it's just interesting to me that it works out so well.
I had
So
my internet was a little wonky, so but it ended up being okay in the end.
yeah, yeah, I thought it was good. I just like it that we
It's
have that,
awesome. I
right?
think it's awesome. I think it's super awesome.
So, people, if you're like missing some of your friends from high school, like it doesn't matter if it's been like 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 years. You can like call them
Hmm.
up and be like, hey, let's do a Zoom or a Google Meet and let's like get on
Yeah,
this. And it's pretty cool, I think.
yeah.
I thought it was cool. So I don't know if everybody else thinks it's cool.
I think
Um,
everyone thought it was pretty awesome.
did you do anything fun for New Year's?
I did make it up till midnight. I was tired. I wasn't feeling
Hmm.
great. We have weird sicknesses running through the house.
I
It
was gonna
should
say your
almost
whole
be
family's
over.
been sick.
Yeah.
So and
But yeah,
apparently
I made
lungs
it till
sick.
midnight and I went to sleep right away after that. So nothing
Yeah.
exciting. But the new year, I mean, we're a couple days in now, and I'm excited about the new habits I'm trying to form. So
What do you got?
that's really cool. Well, just the I have a goal for intermittent fasting each day, a certain
Okay.
time, a workout, at least a half hour.
Okay.
And I made yes, I made them small so they're easier to obtain and to start the habit. Because once it's turned into a habit, then you can add. But it's 10 push-ups a day and then something else. Some other like I've been doing leg lifts because I tweaked my shoulder, like sitting on the couch. So you know how you do that? You're like sitting there and then all of a sudden you like look the other way and like you can't move for four
So
days.
so honestly, I was gonna say I have no idea what you're talking about, except just recently, like I don't know, it was probably like the week before Christmas break or something.
Hmm.
So, like a little bit ago, but we were online doing something, Rocket League or whatever.
Hmm.
And I got offline and I go upstairs. I'm like, my shoulder hurts. And it hurt for like a week and a half. And I'm like, I don't, like, I was trying to think, I'm like, did I do something working out? And I'm like, I seriously don't remember doing anything to it working out. And it hurt until I was wrestling, like working out with a student,
Mm-hmm.
and they like did something to it and I felt it like snap. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh shoot, I knew I should have been doing this on that bad shoulder. And then I'm like, actually, now it's great. And then it was sore for like
Like it's
3 days, like
uh-huh.
aching sore, like somebody had
Uh-huh.
punched me or I got a tetanus shot or something.
Mm-hmm.
But the actual like pain that was there changed into
That's
like aching
funny.
pain and then it went away. So now I'm like, I totally know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
something
I
when
was
you and
like,
I were playing locked up on it.
you did. Yeah, I was like literally like laying on the couch. Like, it was a weird way because I was playing with Banks and I like reached, I reached with this arm because this is the side that hurts. And it was a weird reach. And I was like, oh. And then like the next day I'm in bed and I like can't move and my head's stuck. So I couldn't do any sit-ups. I was just gonna do push-ups and sit-ups, but I was like, okay,
Sure.
I did leg lifts instead. But to get off the floor, I had to like reach my hand back. I had to lift my head up with my hand so then I could roll over and like stand up. So it's a little bit better today, but I don't know what I did. So yeah, just very
Oh, man.
basic, but those are kind of my small health habits. And then I've been trading. I don't think I'm gonna try to make that like where I have to do something every day because I don't want to get into a habit of forcing anything,
Yeah.
but I want to get back into the habit of looking at the charts every day.
Yeah. So
So,
interesting. Two ways that we're kind of connected. Now, first off, we communicate a lot. So
mhm.
that helps with that connection. But totally unrelated to you doing this, I was writing in a book the other day and I
So,
wrote about how important it is to start with little chunks, not big chunks. And I used the
that's
example of
hilarious.
if you're working out, I'm like, don't sit there and try to do like 100 push-ups a day if you haven't been doing anything. Don't try to go run 5 miles if you've been sitting on the couch. I go, start with doing 10, 20, 30 push-ups a day and work your way up.
Hmm.
Get into the habit. Don't just try, because what'll happen is if you go run 5 miles, you'll stop, and the next 2 or 3 days you're sore and you
Hmm.
can't make a habit. I'm like, but if you go and you say, I'm going to walk a mile every day, and I'm going to walk 2 and 3, and then I'm going to run a mile, and eventually you'll be running 5Ks, and it's not going to be that hard.
Yeah.
You've got to do the little bits. I said, what's important is doing small things regularly than
Hmm.
big things irregularly,
Yeah.
right? And the one that's been hitting me going right along with exactly what you're talking about. So I wrote about all of that,
Hmm.
right? But then the other one, and this one you and I have talked about, is similarly with trading. I was like, I need to get out of all the L's. Like I was on
Hmm.
a streak there in December where I had no L's until I screwed up my personal rules.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was dumb. If I hadn't broken my rule, I would have had no L's through December and would have finished great. And what I've been doing is saying, I keep wanting to be a DGen and go 2x, 3x, 4x. I want 30%, 40%, 50%,
Hmm.
like all these things. I'm like, that's dumb. Like
Yeah.
5 or 10 years ago, if I made 10% in a year, I was happy
Yeah.
right before I was a DGen. And I'm like, what I need to start going back to is I just want to make trades all the time that are 5% and make
Hmm.
a hell of a lot more of them
Yeah.
than trying to get these 30% all the time. And that's helping A with my stress. But then I'm like, okay, then I'll get wins all the time
Yes.
and not get any L's. And so, like, today my shorts all finally closed. Those were one of my mistakes. But
Hmm.
then opened two bots and they're both a little red right now, but I really don't care
Yeah.
because they're spot bots. And I did the ADA like you and I were talking about, but I set
Hmm.
my entry a little bit lower than what it is. So it hasn't like
You haven't
clicked
clicked it
yet.
yet? Okay. I'm
So
up
I think
3% right now on my ADA.
So I was right to say to do it. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
But in all three of those were all little. Like I didn't take all of my money and put it in. I'm like,
Yeah.
again, I just want to do little. So I'm doing 100, 100, 100, going for that 5%
Mm-hmm.
and just doing little amounts. The thought being it's diversifying
Yeah.
and that by this time next year, I want to be sitting here saying, yeah, I'm doing all these little ones and they're 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, and 1,000
Yeah.
versus 100, 100, 100, and 100,
Mm-hmm.
but I think doing exactly what we're talking about, doing the small things and compounding them is going to pay big dividends
Yeah.
than trying to go 30%. Not that
Which, excuse
30%
me,
is bad,
I'm still
right?
listening. 559.
What are you checking?
Well, I was gonna move my stop loss, but since we're talking, I'm not
Yeah.
going to. I just hit 7%, so I'm just gonna close it
On that ADA?
on the ADA.
Oh my gosh. So the one I told you to do, you hit, oh, and it just jumped again. So it's
Yeah.
now 0.005 ahead of what I set my entry price. Dang it.
Yeah. Just
But I
because we're
did that
talking
because
about
I
it.
got off later, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
But hey, how about that? I identified the pattern.
Hmm.
Did you
I
do it
imagine
as
it's gonna go up
an X
more,
or a
but
5X or
I did it. Well, I meant to do a 10, but it was 11x.
oh, okay, wow. So and I'm just doing a spot. So mine
Okay.
wouldn't have been there,
Yeah.
right?
I've been doing between 5 and 10.
Yeah, yeah. Which is awesome,
Hmm.
right? I'm just doing spots so that I have no worries of losing,
Yeah.
right?
Like also we are like have a bunch of stuff, especially like that some of the stuff was Christmas related, and I should have listed it before now, but maybe
Yeah.
save it till next Christmas. But some things that we've picked up from the Goodwill that we're going to flip and start getting that stuff listed. So we have
Oh, nice.
a little bin of things. So going to talking about our 36 step challenge, I'm going to give updates at the end of each month rather than like
Nice.
live updates when it happens. Like I did this and this, or if I just did that, or nothing happened. I'm
Right,
still
right.
in
No,
limbo.
I think that is fantastic. Like a good way of doing it.
Hmm. And I
So,
talked to a good friend, and he is concerned that he would make it too serious. So he doesn't think he's going to do it. He doesn't
oh,
think he might make it too serious and it won't be fun because he'd be worried about not. I said, you have a whole year to do a step. He's like, I'm not doing
it could be
that.
a year or 2 years even to
Yeah.
do a step,
Uh-huh.
right? Though you
Maybe
hope
we'll
you get
catch
the
him on.
steps.
Maybe we'll catch him on with some excitement.
Yeah. Well, it's just, it's one of those like a fitness challenge,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not supposed to be your real thing, right? You start with $100. So it's not supposed to
That's
be
what I did.
your real retirement. It's not supposed to be your
Mm-hmm.
real investment strategy. It's supposed to just be something that you're just hanging with. And if it does it, yay.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, okay, right? Like
Yeah, exactly.
that kind of makes it nice. I think it makes it nice.
Mm-hmm.
But but there is that feeling, right? Like if you do it too seriously, right? You're like, okay, I'm at, $10,000. I don't want to do this. I want to go
Yeah.
buy a car, right? Like you might start taking it
Mm-hmm.
to a level that you don't want to.
Then it's
So,
not fun anymore.
right. And not even interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
It becomes work. What do you don't want for me? I don't want it to become work,
I
right?
agree.
Like
I agree.
it's not supposed to be that. Now, maybe when I hit step 20, I won't mind that it's work,
Yeah.
right? Like I'll be like, I guess it's fine.
You're like, all
So,
right.
all right, I guess some work. I saw this post today on Twitter from NFT god Alex Finn. He's a great person to follow. Kilted Balls follows him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's started his own business this year, and he just had an awesome thing. But he said one of the things he posted January 1st was that he always asks himself three questions.
I saw that
And
post.
did you see it?
Mm-hmm.
So listeners, he does what were his biggest wins, and he does threes. So he does three simple questions, and then three biggest wins. What was his three biggest mistakes, and how will I improve? And and I read his answers and stuff, but I thought, what a fun thing kind of to do. Like, what do you have as your wins? What do you have as your losses? And you and I talk about, we reflect all the time. And so for me, I was like, I can't even like focus enough to figure out what my wins and losses are, right? Like I'm like, I don't, which I think is also problematic,
Yeah.
but it's also part of like how you and I think, right? Like I'm like, man, what is my biggest win? I'm like, I had so many wins.
Yeah.
Like how
My
how could
loss
I?
is easy, but the wins are a little tougher.
Yeah. Well,
It
and
was a good year.
what was your big loss?
I typed in my gala information on a bad site.
That was a big loss. That was a big loss. That's right. That's right.
Today we're talking, Jason's over, we're talking about crypto, and like, oh, I not numbers, but we were just talking about where we have a lot of stuff allocated,
Hmm.
just in general. And he's like, "Oh, what about your gala?"
Dick
I
move,
go, "Too
bro.
soon." He's like, as soon as I started saying it, I was like, "No." But
Dick move, bro.
it was already coming out.
So nothing ever happened with that, huh?
Like
Nothing like,
not even a reply like on Twitter or something like, "Hey, we know about that site. We're trying to get it taken care of," or anything like not the company is not going to pay me back for my mistake. I know that
no,
I'm not expecting that, but
right.
I'd hate for it to happen to somebody else, especially
Well,
somebody that's new or whatever.
and were you
Just
able to go
makes
to the
them.
police or anything with it? Because that's
Mhm.
stealing.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't look into that. I mean, I'm gonna talk with my tax guy. I have like everything documented, but I don't.
Why didn't you go to the police?
I don't know. Maybe that's mistake number two. Just things
Like
are
if
busy, and I was just like,
I mean, if somebody stole like $100 from me, I'd probably be like, hey, this person stole $100 from me.
yeah,
I don't know if I go to the police or not, but it's an interesting question, listeners. When do you go to the police if something gets stolen?
yeah,
If somebody stole your car, you'd go to the police.
that's true.
And this was more than a car.
It's a lot more than a car.
Yeah. So definitely it's in the police range.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Though it'd probably be weird now, but I bet there's a whole federal bureau for going after them.
yeah. I mean, it's something I probably should still look at. So maybe it turns into like a win or not as big of a loss for the
Well,
future.
and it'll help our listeners for sure
Hmm.
hearing like what you find out. Like if you find out, yeah, there's a federal bureau in charge of cyber crimes and
Yeah.
this is how you get a hold of them. Like that might be
Hmm.
super interesting, I would think.
Yep. Well, things
So
are getting back to normal in life, so I'll have time at the computer where I can do some research.
that'll be good. That'll be good.
Hmm.
I think that'd be good. So yeah, so the win's hard, loss was good. I don't know if I have a big loss.
I did beat you in disc golf, so there's that.
You did beat me in disc golf once. This last time when we played, like I was starting to feel bad about myself because I was like losing for probably like 4 holes, 5 holes. I'm like,
Oh,
what
really?
is wrong with the world? Yeah, like once I broke my putter, I got behind. I had a
Hmm.
I had a hole, and if you saw it, you'd be like, oh yeah, it's a hole that I birdie probably 90% of the time or more, and I got a five on it.
Oh, wow.
And that like put me behind forever,
Hmm.
right? And then I was like, oh, that sucks. And then my overall was down. I think I just hadn't played in so long and it was wet out. And I
Yeah.
kept throwing without wiping off my disc. Like I'm just like, I don't care. And I'd throw. And then I'd be like, oh, I let go early. Oh, I let go early. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, because I'm not like wiping off my disc. I'm like, I need to
Hmm.
take this a little bit more serious. And so then I
Yeah.
started wiping off my disc and then it wasn't much of a match anymore.
There you
So yeah, that was fun. But yeah. And New Year's, we had a good time. I taught like the college kiddos how to play a Texas Hold'em, so that was
Oh,
fun.
awesome.
So we didn't use real money, but I'm like most games, the currency is fake, like
Mm-hmm.
Monopoly and all of those. I'm like, so
Mm-hmm.
we'll just use chips and say if you lose your chips, you're out,
Yeah.
right? You lose, and that makes it serious enough.
Mm-hmm.
But it was fun. They were learning.
Did you do your horse racing game?
I have not because I left it at my mom's.
Okay.
But we played that with you, right?
Mm-hmm. It looks like it. I mean, without
No, it looks like
examining
the
it.
same one.
Okay.
And we were laughing because Amy's like, we played that with my dad. And I'm like, no, we played that with Jer. And then we saw her dad. And I'm like, do you remember playing this? Yeah, we played with Jer. So he must have been there too.
So yeah, I think we played with Frank and Jay, right? And you were
Hmm.
over
Yeah,
at that Christmas New Year's party, and then
right.
we played, I think, that next summer
With them.
with them up at Cherry.
Okay. Yep, that would make sense.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glad you guys didn't come up for Christmas because you're all being sick.
Yeah,
We had the flu before Christmas. We don't need to get it again after Christmas.
it was like Morgan's had the flu for over a week.
Yeah, we were
Like it's
counting because he
crazy.
got it right after he got back, right?
Hmm.
And so, because we were talking, we're like, okay, I'm almost sick. And we're like, oh, he has the flu. And you guys took him into the doctor, and we're like, we might take him to the doctor too if the flu lasted more than a week. And we're like,
Well,
and
he,
this is like
he
going on 2 weeks.
he tested positive the 24th and then
Hmm.
again yesterday. But he was just super lethargic yesterday. And
Yeah.
Margie, like he's
Oh,
like
yeah,
trying to take naps during the day, like something's wrong with him.
for sure.
And so
And you
yeah,
would
they said
assume that
he's
the flu
still
would be
got it.
done by then, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Well, his medicine for his ear infection was all done.
yeah. I mean, the
So it's
flu
just like
normally takes like a week.
mm-hmm.
But like I said, we were like calculating it and we're like, it's been way more than a week.
Yeah.
We're like, that seems scary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
But he's all okay. He was great today. So
yeah,
I mean a little rundown, but compared to the last few days,
like,
last week.
yeah. We think because we were like when Cal had it, he had B, and
Okay.
it was probably a good 3 days he was out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But we were like, he had the vaccine, so he's gonna recover
Yeah. And
faster.
I did too. I got my flu shot this year because I'm used to it from doing the shows.
Right, right.
Just used to
And how
getting my
bad
flu
was it
shot.
when you got the flu?
I
Or did
haven't been that sick.
oh, see, so
Like
that's what
I've
you
been
want.
like yeah, like a little drainage and stuff, but not,
Yeah,
you know.
not anything horrible.
Hmm.
Not popping 104
Yeah,
fever
exactly. Exactly.
and feeling crappy about life. So you already said what you were going to improve on. You're going to start doing some of those little
Yeah. Do you have
little
some like
things.
habits or things? Did you end up getting a calendar or are you doing something like that?
I did not, and
Okay.
I was looking at some of his stuff online today, not for the calendar, but like just he was talking about the calendar, right?
Yeah.
And like these three things you should do. I forget. Somebody like it was on his Twitter feed and
Hmm.
people were putting it. I thought, that's so important. And I'm like, and yet again, it's really hard for me because I also have trouble identifying the wins and losses. So I'm like, it's
Yeah.
hard to also look at, okay, what do I want to do this year?
Hmm.
I definitely think one of the things is just eat more veggies. So that's
Nice.
one thing that I want to improve on. I think once like my busy season is done, I tend to not have as good of eating habits. And
Okay.
so I'm like, I kind of want to focus on that because I don't mind. It's just what's around and what I'm going to eat.
Yeah.
The right. So it's just kind of a
Hmm.
weird thing. So that's one. So maybe eating better is one thing I want to improve on. Um, I sometimes think I should work out, but I'm so active, I don't worry about it as much. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something I want to improve on or if that needs to happen more organically. I want to write more and read more,
Hmm.
you know. So because when you get busy, I think those things go out the window first.
Yes.
and I
Yes.
think they're kind of important. So,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah, those are both on my list. I only had 75 books last year. So, and I finished strong. Like my last few months were
nice.
high because I think I want to say I was coming into October at like 22. So I did lots of listening. But yeah, and also like the writing more. I want to get my journal out and do stuff like that. That's things that we've talked about.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And that's like, I even left a comment on my thing. Like, do you get notifications when I leave comments on the doc?
Mm-mm, I don't.
Oh, I thought you would. So I
No,
left
I
a comment
don't.
there that said add stuff here.
Oh, I'll have to look at it. It's one thing that I'll click on here and there, but I guess I
Hmm.
haven't in a little bit. I gotta
Yeah,
make
well,
sure you're not writing a whole bunch and I'm not paying attention.
that's what I thought. I'm like, ooh, he's not going to know that I'm doing this. So I'm going to put a comment so that he knows I'm getting on there because
Hmm.
he checks sometimes. I'd rather him know in advance and not check for it. So, you know, one of those
Look at
things,
that.
one of those things. But yeah,
Yeah,
so that's what I want to improve on.
that's awesome.
Don't know the wins, don't know the losses. I think I have
Hmm.
just too many wins to count.
Yeah, there you go. Well, one cool thing, and I'll bring it up here, and our listeners can, I can't remember if we have or not, but one thing that Jesse talks about is that to do one new thing, he breaks it to every 8 weeks. Like do one thing you normally wouldn't do, like
Right.
as almost part of the plot.
Yeah.
Like,
Adding an adventure, right?
yep, yeah. So I don't know if our adventure for this first 8 weeks is today. We went up into the mountains and we went sledding, which was pretty awesome. It's not
Yeah.
something that we do. I can't remember the last time I was sledding, but yeah, we found a spot and we talked about skiing, but we heard about this spot where it's like at a park and it just is a great big hill. So
That's
there was tons
awesome.
of people there. It was super fun. Took our round slides up there and
Last time you were sledding was probably with us.
yeah, exactly.
And we can't sled because there's no snow. Like our
Yeah.
buddies went up north skiing over Christmas break and didn't ski.
Hang out and drink.
I'm like, oh, Michigan, oh, Michigan.
Yeah.
Though I saw a picture pop up from 9 years ago, and it's
Hmm.
you and me and our spouses playing Can Jam, and it looked just as green as it does now up here.
Oh, that's
So,
hilarious.
so maybe it hasn't changed. Maybe it's just
Hmm.
different times.
Yep. People are thinking it's still the late 80s. Like, wait a second. We always get snow.
No, no, that time is now past.
Yep.
So you got to wait till January for the big snowfalls now, I guess.
Hmm. You get just
So,
a good 6, 8 weeks.
yep, yep. It's not 3 months anymore. So,
Yep.
yep. I had an interesting conversation with one of my brothers over Christmas.
Hmm.
Um, I was asking when they were going to retire. So it's like
Hmm.
people in my family are starting to hit that retirement age.
Hmm.
And he was like, well, you can't retire until you're 55. He goes, you can stop working before that, but you can't retire. He goes, you can stop working whenever you want. And I'm like, well, that's not quite true. And he goes, according to the federal government, it's true. He goes, he goes, because you can't access your 401ks or all
Hmm.
of these things until you're 55. And I'm like, right, but like I could pull a full pension right now. So I
Hmm.
think that means I'm retired. And he goes, well, but not to the feds. He goes, maybe
Yeah.
to your state. And I was like, okay.
Hmm.
So I'm like, I guess that means you're not planning on retiring soon. He's like, no. But so then it made me think, like, when do you do that? Like we talked on here a lot. Like I'm
Hmm.
always feeling good and like it's not really work to me. But then other times, like my wife will always say, what you need to do is cut back. Like whenever you start thinking about retiring, what you need to think about is just cutting back. Like
Yeah.
stop doing all the extras. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's true. Right. But then I'm
Hmm.
like, yeah, I don't want to not do the extras. That's kind of who I
Yeah.
am. So I'm like,
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
maybe
we
not.
even saw it happen. I mean, we saw GM. I mean, start like that's when he kind of passed the baton along when he stopped coaching wrestling.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he would just taught. Well, I guess he
Yeah.
went into administration first and then came back to teaching.
And then came back to teaching. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And seemed to like it. And he had kids in
Hmm.
high school and stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm like, it's an interesting thing, an interesting side note. So, you know,
But yeah,
but
I
yeah.
think you associate yourself too much with that. I think it would be, at least right now, you never know, like in the next few years
Well,
and
and
things
it's
like
it's a
that.
love-hate thing, right? Like I always
Hmm.
want to do less. Like I don't
Hmm.
think that's, you know, ever gonna change.
Yeah.
But it's also not like a thing that I hate. It's more of a
Yeah.
thing that's annoying to me, right? Like you exist and that annoys me, kind of a thing.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. That's
that's
funny.
kind of what the thing is. So yeah. So what is today's theme? Like this was a recap of our New Year plans.
Yesterday and today. Yeah, kind of a recap. And
I like it. Yesterday and today. What's the
I should be a
plans?
jingle writer.
Oh my gosh, you should be. Now, did you start filling out your 24 your yeah, your 2024 calendar?
I did. I did a few things and I have some in my mind because I didn't go there today. I had, stuff to do, but it wasn't
Right.
that important. So it's at the warehouse. So like when I get to the warehouse tomorrow, I'm gonna update from the past few days. Because
Nice.
I plan on making like little symbols, how I do different things. And so, and I've put some future things on there. But I also want to keep track, and to me it's going to hold me, like I can visually hold myself responsible. Like,
Yeah, I
oh, look
like
at
that.
like how many days, and I did my intermittent fast easy. I did it for 14 hours, like 14 hours, like it's pretty, unless I'm like up really late and I have a drink like just before bed, and then it's harder the next day. But a lot of times I'm just drinking water at night anyways, so it doesn't
So what's
really.
your fast? Tell us your fast. Because I thought fast just was food, but you just said drink. So
Well, alcohol, sugar. So I consider alcohol like breaking a fast. If I'm drinking like, if we're like when we play our
so
games
for
on
so
Thursday
when you're
nights
talking about fasting, you're talking about nothing but water for
or coffee.
14 hours.
Yep.
Nothing but water or coffee for 14
Hmm.
hours.
Yep.
Okay. And so when have you been like eating? Like when's your last meal? Like on a day like
Uh,
today.
like I was already done eating by 6:30.
Okay.
So by the time I wake up tomorrow, I'm already gonna be 12 hours in.
Yeah, yeah. And then it's 8:30 and you've hit your
Yeah.
14 hours.
Yeah. Most days I do 16 to 18, but I'm like, well, like today I ate later last night. And quick story, we have just a couple minutes. So mom used to make the cinnamon rolls at Christmas morning on breakfast.
For
So I
sure.
was I was shopping Christmas Eve and I thought about it, but then I forgot to grab them. And I told Gina like, "Oh man, I forgot to grab those. Mom used to make them. It just gives me good feels." And she's
Yeah,
like, "Well, I was thinking about getting them too. That's funny." So mom was talking to her. And so like this last week, Gina bought the big ones, the grands that you can get, the cinnamon buns. And
sure.
so, like, if I make them that it's just us, then we end up eating all of them. And I was like, oh, our friends are here. I'll make them this morning. So I don't have the willpower to not eat a Cinnabon when it's sitting right there. So I didn't go 14 hours today. So, like, it's not going to be marked today. I just didn't do my intermittent fast today.
Right, right.
Like, coming into today is how I'm keeping track of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But they were awesome and I don't regret it.
No, why would you? Why would you? What made you choose 14 hours instead of 16 hours?
Smaller and obtainable.
Okay.
Like from what I've read and what I've seen, like the intermittent fast is starts after 12 hours. Like that's when your body is cleared out and like it's starting to use your body stuff, not stuff that was in your stomach and in your digestive system.
It's so
Right.
interesting to me, and we're almost out of time, so maybe we'll have to have an episode about this. But I
Hmm.
like purposely, so I can go obviously long times without food
Hmm.
because of my training and stuff. Um, And traditionally, like I can survive on coffee. Like the girls all
Hmm.
laugh at me because I'll forget to eat lunch often. And
Hmm.
sometimes I'll forget to eat breakfast and I'll just drink coffee, right? So I'll go to
Hmm.
bed and go through the day until we get home. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm starving, right? But the thing that's funny is I try to eat every morning no matter what,
Yeah.
right? So like I don't think about like I try not to fast. Like I try to like, okay, I'm having a granola bar, I'm having a Pop Tart,
Hmm.
I'm having an egg. I try to like even if I'm not hungry, I'm like I have to eat something. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll have to talk about this more. We're about to run out of time, people.
Hmm.
We hope you learned something good. We hope you're having great New Year's plans. And this is Ballbuster signing off.
Guilty Dragon Jerry, love you all.